All right, this week is the A10. As I mentioned on Facebook, we're doing A10 weeks. I'm doing weeks at a time in different modules. And this week, we're going to spend time the amazing, wonderful, brutal A10. It's all going to be pretty boring. All right, first thing I need to do is make sure my daggone what's called sound. Speakers, okay. That.
Good morning, Nugget. Welcome to the A10C conversion training course.
I'm going to turn the sound down for the game. Just like I can do my head. Nope.
Over the next few days, we'll teach
Uh,
you to find fight the latest incarnation of the toughest,
hope I need that up.
and ugliest jet in the Air Force inventory. The A10C Thunderbolt 2, better known as the Warthog or simply the Hog. In this brief introduction, we'll overview the A10 and take a quick glance inside the cockpit. Please do not touch any input controls while watching this lesson.
Yes,
You
sir.
can press the pause key on your keyboard if you need a break. Your jet's waiting on the ramp, so let's get to it.
Get to it, sir.
The A10C is the latest upgrade to the venerable A10 Thunderbolt II close air support attack aircraft. The A10 has been around since the 1970s, and despite efforts to kill it off earlier, the Hog plays a vital role in U.S. military operations around the world
They're still
today.
trying to kill it off.
Its original mission was to kill Soviet tanks streaming through the Fulda Gap, but today it's perhaps the most effective weapon in Iraq and Afghanistan. Long loader times, large weapon loads, redundant systems, and powerful sensors make the Hog a favorite of pilots and ground troops alike. Let's take a look at some of the key features of the A10C. The A10 has a pair of straight wings that provide excellent lift and maneuverability at slow speeds. However, these same wings contribute to the A10 being a bit of a slowpoke. The
Slowpoke.
wings have large trailing edge flaps, 11 stations for stores loading, and large fuel tanks. The fuselage also holds a pair of fuel tanks, but was largely built around the massive GAL 8A Avenger 7-barrel 30mm cannon. Two engines are mounted externally high on the rear fuselage.
I remember when I first seen this thing with these engines like that. I was like, what the hell? I was in Germany in the 80s. Had to refuel them all the time.
Flight control is provided by large ailerons on the wings, twin elevators on the tailplane, and rudders on the vertical stabilizers. All these control surfaces have backup systems that keep the A-10 flying even after severe battle damage. The flight control system uses a combination of hydraulic and mechanical linkages run through the stability augmentation system that make the A-10 a very controllable and stable aircraft to handle. Two TF-34GE100A turbofan engines are mounted high on the rear fuselage. These engines are fuel efficient, durable, and can take a lot of damage. The unusual position masks the engines from enemy heat-seeking sensors, minimizes the risk of foreign object and battle damage to both engines, and makes them easier to service. The A-10 also has an auxiliary power unit that can be used to start the engines and run the electrical and hydraulic systems on the ground. Let's take a look inside the A10C's office. This has received quite a facelift since the A10A. The first noticeable difference is the pit is dominated by two 5x5-inch multifunction color displays. A new control stick borrowed from the F-16 and a right throttle handle from the F-15E are installed to increase HOTAS functionality.
I didn't know that.
An upfront controller below the heads-up display is used for data entry, and the Armament HUD control panel has replaced the older Armament control panel for combat systems configuration. The pit can be divided into the four primary areas: the HUD and canopy valve, the front dash, the left console, and the right console. We'll be using these references in later missions. Like the rest of the aircraft, the cockpit was designed to withstand battlefield punishment. The pilot and control links are surrounded by a 408 kilogram titanium bathtub to protect against shrapnel and AAA fire.
There's an official A10 group. I see these as F-15, F-15 Eagle, Viper, Apache, Builders, Eagle. I don't see no A10 group. What the? A10 is like one of the better known planes. There's a DCS Harrier group. There's a DCS Kiowa group. F-15 Strike Eagle. There's no DCS A10 group. Somebody need to create that. Won't be me though. I got enough groups. Yeah, somebody needs to create that, man. Somebody needs to create a DCS A10 group.
This concludes the overview of the A-10C. We'll begin taking a more thorough look at the aircraft starting with the next lesson. But now you've got a mandatory date with the Warthog Flight Manual, so get busy reading.
No, 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 no. I'm not getting busy reading, sir. Do these trainings. I can start up. I'm running through all the trainings. I done did them before, but that's 10 years ago. We got to figure it all out again. All right, start up. I'm really glad I'm just doing these because I'm going to see Spider-Man here in about an hour. So yeah, why not do some A10 training?
Good morning. In this mission, we will practice the startup procedure for the A-10C. There's a lot to cover, so feel free to take a break by pressing the pause key at any point.
I have to turn my seat
It
on
will be
because
important for you to follow my instructions to the letter. Do not jump ahead and start mashing buttons and throwing switches.
he's not lying.
I will guide you toward the desired controls with highlights and by referring to the front dash and left and right consoles. You can pan around the cockpit using your view control commands to
He's
locate the
not lying.
switches. If you find it hard to hear my instructions over the background noise, turn down the world and in-cockpit sound sliders to about 50% in the options menu.
I'm going to pull up the
As
manual.
described in the flight manual, a pre-flight check is normally performed prior to startup to ensure the aircraft is configured properly. However, for the purposes of this lesson, we'll begin the startup sequence with the aircraft's initial configuration set as it would be at the start of all missions. The startup procedure will consist of initiating electrical power, starting the APU, followed by the left and right engines, and finally powering up and preparing all essential avionics. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin.
Okay, I'm not quite ready. So if you're watching, just realize it's going to be a slow process. Because I'm really going to take the time to learn this sucker today. I got the manual pulled up. The manual is 814 pages. Probably 810 of them. I ain't gonna say that. That's a lie. These manuals are really good. But it does go into some stuff that casual player wouldn't really bother with. And I'm not a casual player. There's a lot of stuff like the history. I mean, I know all of that. That's good for immersion. The general design, the fuselage, yeah, that's all good. Let's get down to business. How do you fly this beast? All right, radio equipment. Yeah, see, I'm reading the manual, scrolling through the manual. A lot of stuff. Got the help right to show. Look at all this. That's a lot of stuff. CBUs talking about the weapons. Uh, like good information in here, but I think I want to get down to yeah, what do you do? This stuff. Control stick. Okay, let's just see what he's gonna train me on. I know I'm gonna get stuck at some point because you have to know something out the manual for some of these trainings in order to continue.
First, set the battery switch on the electrical panel on the right side console to power. This
Power.
will provide power to the DC buses and the APU. Follow the highlight at the bottom right corner of the screen to locate the switch. Good. Now set the inverter switch on the same panel to standby. This will allow AC power to be supplied to numerous aircraft instruments.
Can't get
It
out
will
of
also provide power to the engine igniters.
line or head of
With
these.
electrical power now running, we can take a moment to test the caution and warning systems to make
It
sure
will
that
get
we will
hung up.
receive warnings in case something goes wrong during startup. To do this, press and hold the lamp test button on the auxiliary lighting panel on the left console. Take a look around the cockpit while you hold down the button to make sure that all of the caution lights are functional and you can hear an audible warning tone. Everything looks good. Now let's test the fuel indicator to make sure it's functional and accurate. The fuel indicator is located on the right side of the front dash. When tested, the two needles should point to 3,000 pounds, and the digital totalizer readout should be around 6,000 pounds. On the oxygen regulator panel, set the supply switch to on, and check for oxygen flow to be indicated in the flow window. Press the
Low window.
oxygen indicator test button to test the oxygen remaining indicator. Watch the oxy low caution light on the caution lights panel to turn on when the indication falls below 0.5 liters. Set the UHF radio function down to main to power the UHF radio. We are now ready to begin the engine start sequence, but let's first close the canopy to minimize the noise. Click and hold the canopy
What?
control switch to lower the canopy, or press left control plus C on the keyboard.
Oh, left click don't work. I mean, right click doesn't work. Left click.
Starting the engines will take several minutes and require a few steps. First, we need to provide power to the boost pumps of the left and right wing tanks and left and right fuselage tanks. You will find the four switches on the fuel system control panel toward the top of the left console. Set all four switches to the up position.
Up we go.
Before starting the engines, we need to start the auxiliary power unit, APU, which will generate bleed air used to start the main engines. As you start the APU, be ready to monitor the APU exhaust gas temperature, EGT, and RPM gauges on the Engine Monitoring Instruments EMI panel located on the bottom right of the front dash. Go ahead and set the APU start switch to start. Now let's return to the electrical panel and set the APU generator switch to the power position. This will allow the APU generator to power the aircraft and relieve the battery drain. However, the battery needs to remain on as a backup electrical source. While on the electrical panel and in preparation of the engine start sequence, let's also set the left and right AC generators up to power. Once the engines are started, they will begin to turn the AC generators and take over from the APU to provide electrical power. Okay, time to crank up the left engine. This is a very simple process initiated simply by moving the left throttle from off to idle or pressing the right Alt plus home keys. This will automatically start fuel flow, use bleed air from the APU to turn the fans, and then ignite the fuel in the combustion chamber.
Okay, let's see. From what? Remove it. This thing is kind of easy to start. I could do Alt Home, or I could do. Let's just see if this is gonna work. It's not gonna work because you don't have a throttle program, buddy. I did download a Chat GTP. I do have a throttle program. Oh, it's not left and right. Is that? It is left. Okay, okay, okay. Yeah, try it again. That throttle is not doing shit. Right Alt Home.
As the engine spools up, scan the engine monitoring instruments panel to watch the engine interstage turbine temperature, ITT, engine core speed, fan speed, and fuel flow gauges. Watch for the core fan RPM to stabilize around 60% when idling on the ground. You will also notice the left hydraulic system's pressure begin to build. This will normalize between 2,800 and 3,350 psi. Once the left engine is running normal and stable, press the spacebar key to proceed.
How do I know what's normal and stable, sir? Scan the engine monitoring instruments panel to watch the engine interstage. 60% idling. Which one is that? Fan. Temp.
We'll now repeat the process for the right engine. Once again, the engine is started by moving the throttle from off to idle, or in this case, pressing the right control plus home keys. As with the left engine, monitor the instrumentation as the right engine spools up. Also watch the right hydraulic system pressure to normalize. Once you have both engines running normally at idle power, you can do a flight controls check to test the responsiveness of the controls to stick and rudder input. Test the speed brakes and flaps. Press the spacebar key to proceed once everything checks out.
Do I even have a flap button? A speed brake? God dang, Chat GTP. I mean, damn, tracker hard on some bullshit again. On that bullshit tracker. You on that bullshit. Look at this. You on that bullshit tracker. Okay, well, once your engine normally in power, you can do a flight control check. And flaps. Do I even have a button for flaps? Let's see. I got three switches that says flaps. Got to go out. See if I got that. Yes, I do. This thing is pretty much keybind. A10. Where's it at? A10. D. Okay.
With both engines now running and powering the left and right AC generators, we can turn off the APU generator on the electrical panel and then the APU itself on the throttle panel. Okay, now we'll power up the control display unit, CDU, and the embedded GPS INS IGE systems. This will begin the automated built-in test, BIT, and alignment processes for the navigation system, which you can monitor on the CDU display on the right console.
It's CDU,
Uncaged the
CDM.
standby attitude indicator, SAI, on the front dash. To do this, turn the SAI cage knob to the left by rolling your mouse wheel down over the knob. Once uncaged, roll the wheel back to set the SAI aircraft indicator level on the horizon. Turn on the multifunction color displays, MFCDs, left. Click twice on the power switch for each display. While we are waiting for the CDU bit and IGE alignment to complete, we can continue the startup sequence. Turn on the Central Interface Control Unit, CICU, on the Armament HUD Control Panel, AHCP, on the front dash. This will provide essential user interface controls to numerous aircraft systems,
This thing is
the left
so
and right
complicated,
multifunction color
especially this
displays,
thing right here.
MFCDs.
You do so much.
The MFCDs are now on. In a few moments, they will display the Data Transfer System, DTS page, which we will use to upload navigation and weapon configuration data saved on the data cartridge from the mission planner. Now, set the Integrated Flight and Fire Control Computer, IFFCC, switch to the test position. Right-click once. The IFFCC provides weapon release calculations, attitude control, and HUD indication. In test mode, the system will run a series of automated bits, which
when
you
I
can
turn the
monitor
hood
with
on.
HUD. Press the ENT enter button on the upfront controller UFC to initiate the IFFCC bit. This will take approximately 1 minute. While waiting for the IFFCC to undergo the bit and the IGE system to finish aligning, let's set up our flight control systems. Set the left and right yaw and pitch SAS channels on the SAS panel on the left console to on. Now press the TL trim button to set the flight controls for takeoff trim. Let's upload data from the data cartridge. Select Load All on the left MFCD by pressing the Option Select button 10. The DTS will take about 15 seconds to transfer the data from the cartridge to the jet.
Today.
During this time, all the asterisks accompanying each data type on the left side of the
display
will disappear. When all the asterisks reappear, the data has been transferred successfully. Once the data is loaded, set the right MFCD to display CDU data by pressing OSB 13. This way you don't have to take your head down to check CDU indication.
Okay, DTS yeah. During this time, all of the asterisks data type data label. If the data has been transferred. Once the data is loaded, set the right MFCD to display CDU data. This way you don't have to take your head down. Okay.
The IFFCC bit is now complete. As you can see on the HUD, the exit function is currently pointed to by the HUD cursor. Press the Enter key on the UFC to exit this HUD menu. The IFCC is now displaying the ground bit menu on the HUD, where you can run a number of other bits if necessary. To exit out of this menu, press the Select Rocker key on the UFC down repeatedly until the HUD cursor points to exit again. Then press Enter to exit this menu. The IFFCC is now displaying the main menu on the HUD, where you can set up various indication and weapon release parameters. Let's take the IFFCC out of test mode and set it to on. Right-click the IFFCC switch one more time. Let's set the left MFCD to the Tactical Awareness Display TAD page by pressing OSB 15. Now load up the flight plan. Left-click the steer point switch on the AAP panel to set it to flight plan. This will set the flight route to appear on the TAD display. With our flight and navigation systems ready, we can prepare some of the combat systems for the mission. Set the countermeasure signal processor mode switch on the CMSP panel to standby. For a combat sortie, you may want to review or create some countermeasures programs, but that is for another lesson. Now set the 4 system select switches to on, middle position.
1, 2, 3,
Next, set the Joint
4.
Tactical Radio System JTRS switch on the AHCP to on. This will provide power to the Situational Awareness Data Link saddle.
Oh, this is a lot.
With the IGI aligned, let's select CDU nav mode by pressing OSB 9 on the right MFCD. Select the EGI as the primary navigation system on the Navigation Mode Select panel. Next, arm the Enhanced Attitude Control EAC switch on the Low Altitude Safety and Targeting Enhancement LACD panel on the left console. Note this switch is hidden under the throttle, so you may have to shift your view position to see it, but it is still clickable with the mouse.
Okay. Oh, I don't know if I can see that. Let's see. Oh, that switch.
Turn on the radar altimeter. At this point, we are ready to taxi to the runway. Set the anti-skid switch to on. Now turn on the nose wheel steering by pressing the pinky button on the control stick or insert on the keyboard.
All right, let me see what I got for notes. Oh, that's not it.
Click on the yellow handle to arm the ejection seat.
I already did by accident.
Taxiing out to the runway requires tower permission, so we will end our startup lesson here. Tomorrow you're going up. See you then.
Boy, I didn't write any of that down. That's a lot. What was it, about 20 steps? Easily about 20 steps. Yeah, that's easily 20 steps. All right, now, normally what I would do right now, like most of y'all probably would do, is you take off and taxi. Yep, that's what you would do right now. I'm not doing that. I am going to go do the next damn mission. But the next damn mission wants me to know all this. I think that's normally why I get stomped at. But we're going to see. What time is it? Oh, 7 o'clock. Let's see if I can do this without getting stomped. Okay. Got some threats. Why we got some threats here? Oh, we're just taking off from the runway?
Welcome to the Takeoff and Basic Handling Training Flight.
Oh,
Today,
okay.
you're taking the A10C up for a spin. In this lesson, we'll perform a standard takeoff followed by some basic maneuvers at medium altitude. Press the spacebar key when you are ready to begin. Things will happen rather quickly once you begin to roll, so let's review the takeoff sequence. After a final check of the instruments, you'll begin to roll at max engine power. Your
Whoa.
main focus will be on using nose wheel steering to maintain the aircraft on runway center during the roll. Once the rudders become effective above 50 knots, you will disengage nose wheel steering. At 120 knots, begin to raise the nose by gently pulling back on the stick and setting a pitch angle of 10 degrees on the ADI. This will be a safety critical element of takeoff. Pulling up too fast can lead to striking the aircraft's tail on the runway or lifting off with too
They
much
do it.
angle of attack, leading to a stall and possible crash. Once the aircraft is safely airborne and climbing, raise the landing gear and flaps. Accelerate to 180 knots and maintain this speed in the climb to altitude. Prior to starting the takeoff roll, a number of final checks are performed to ensure the aircraft's safe operation. Ensure the anti-skid switch is set to on. If not already done, turn on pitot tube heating on the environmental control panel. Now hold down the wheel brakes by pressing and holding the W key and increase throttle to 85% core RPM. Monitor your flight and engine instruments for any abnormalities. Look around the cockpit and check the caution lights panel to ensure no malfunctions are reported. Press the spacebar key to proceed once everything checks out. You are now ready for takeoff. Take a note of your current heading as you will maintain this after takeoff. To begin the roll, release the wheel brakes and advance the throttles to max. Use careful nose wheel steering commands to keep the aircraft running straight down the center of the runway. Press the Hold Task pinky button or insert to disable nose wheel steering. Gently pull back on the stick to raise the nose to 10 degrees pitch on the ADI and hold it. Maintain 10 degrees of pitch. Raise the landing gear by pressing G and the flaps by pressing left shift plus F. The landing gear horn will sound while the landing gear is in transition. Adjust your pitch angle to maintain 180 knots indicated airspeed in the climb, and check the vertical velocity indicator to monitor your rate of climb. Your desired rate of climb will depend on a number of factors, including the aircraft weight, range, and altitude of the steer point. However, 180 knots indicated airspeed is a good average climb speed. Maintain a heading of 300 degrees and 180 knots. Level out at 5,000 feet. Scan your instruments vertically from the HUD down to the ADI and HSI, and then horizontally across the front dash from the airspeed indicator to the altimeter and vertical velocity indicator. Approaching 5,000 feet, let's level out here. We'll pick up some airspeed and max engine power. Flying over water can be disorienting, so let's turn inland. Turn right to 040.
Yeah, I'm doing all of these trainings until it stumps me. 040, I think is what he said. This is the easy part, though. Man, I
Let's
wish
talk a bit about airspeed.
I could do
While
this
you
in
may want to
VR.
fly at maximum speed to get where you're going as fast as possible, you have to keep in mind fuel consumption and designated times of arrival. As such, you will generally fly at speeds less than maximum and preferably close to your cruise speed, which is the most efficient speed for your current aircraft payload and altitude.
I got to keep moving the seat to see the damn hood indicator. Scrunch down in the seat. All right, 5,000. We'll wait to that. 6,000. Trim down. 1, 2. All right. What is he saying?
Let's try to decelerate. There are a number of ways you can reduce airspeed, including reducing engine RPM, opening the speed brakes, and pitching the nose up to climb. For now, let's simply reduce engine power. Pull the throttles back and watch the airspeed indications on the HUD and front dash begin to decrease.
Easy breezy stuff. Easy breezy. Easy breezy.
Good. Now let's accelerate by advancing the throttles back to max.
Oh, this would be so much fun to track our. I mean, in VR. Still cool to track our better, more visuals, but track our would just be ooh-wee. I mean, VR would
Now
be.
let's perform a climb. Take the nose up to 20 degrees of pitch by referencing the ADI on the front dash. Climb to 12,000 feet.
Man, can this thing take 20 degrees of pitch?
Watch the altitude and airspeed readings on the HUD and instrument panel.
That's
Take
so
note of the altitude
disrespectful.
increasing and airspeed decreasing.
That's so
Check the
disrespectful.
VVI to monitor your rate of climb. It's critical to maintain control of your airspeed or you will quickly approach a stall scenario. If your airspeed begins to fall below 160 knots, reduce your climb rate by lowering the nose to a smaller pitch angle. The A-10 does not have a very high thrust-to-weight ratio, so cannot zoom climb like fighter jets. However, what the Hawk lacks in engine power, it makes up for in engine durability and endurance. Level
Level
out at
down,
12,000 feet.
level down 4, level down 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
The A-10 service ceiling is 45,000 feet.
You
However,
lying
given
to
the
me.
nature of the A-10 design and function, you are likely to spend most of your time in altitudes below 25,000 feet.
45,000 feet. You can't even. It be you. You can't get to
The
45,000
next
feet
maneuver
in this
will be a
thing.
dive. Before we begin, keep in mind a couple of things. Although we are 12,000 feet above sea level, the surface of the Earth can be a lot closer, so we'll only drop about 5,000 feet and recover at 7,000. Also, our speed will increase rapidly in the dive and we need to be careful not to overspeed the aircraft.
Overspeed,
Overspeeding is
overspeed.
highly dangerous and can lead to catastrophic structural failure.
Not in this. We not. All right, what are we
Pull
doing?
the throttle back and push the stick forward to make your pitch 20 degrees nose down. Watch your altitude decrease and speed increase as you dive. Recover at 7,000 feet.
Everybody wants to just shoot. Come on, just get to the shooting part. No, we're gonna do this.
Coming up on 7,000 feet, level out.
Every training, do all the training. Now I'm on some YouTube training. Then I'm gonna go into DCS Retribution, Afghanistan. I'm gonna try to bomb some shit.
For our last maneuver of
Gonna
the day,
blow some
we'll
shit
try a
up.
level turn. Turning is not difficult, but turning well does require attentiveness and coordination. The goal of a level turn is to complete the maneuver with minimal deviation in speed and altitude from your initial conditions. A level turn will consist of initial roll input on the stick, followed by a slight pull, and rudder input into the turn to maintain altitude and minimize side slip as indicated by the slip ball on the ADI. However, too much input on either the stick or rudder will quickly increase drag and angle of attack, leading to a drastic loss of speed and potential loss of control.
Okay.
We'll perform a 360-degree left turn from a heading of 040 at 7,000 feet and 280 knots. Go ahead and set the jet to these initial conditions.
All right, 040. I can barely see the damn hood.
Set. Stabilize at this speed and altitude before starting the turn. Remember, try to maintain the airspeed and altitude throughout the turn. Use the total velocity vector on the HUD to maintain altitude, and step on the ADI ball using the rudder to minimize side slip. Begin when ready.
Holy shit, too much rudder. Rudder is sensitive. Pull back, pull back. I can't see the speed up too.
You deviated too far from the starting conditions. Stabilize again on a heading of 040 at 7,000 feet and 280 knots for another try.
I can't see the damn. All right, 280, 040. Oh, I wasn't at 7,000 feet though, was I? You got to look at the manual controls. I can't see this other shit. 63, diving. Now we're climbing. It's not easy to do. Zero, 7,000 feet. One more try, buddy, and then I'm gonna be like, ah. I don't think he gonna let me go past this if I don't do this stupid 7,000 feet, 280. Oh, that's 7,000. It's plus minus 1,000. All right, 260. Come on, baby, go.
Set. Begin when ready.
I'm not doing 280 yet. All right, that's close enough.
Well done. We will end our training flight here.
Woohoo! And your training flight here, man. Okay, tracker eyes in my new. My tracker R is on some real. I don't know what. Oh, I know why. It's my damn seat. The Sim seat is moving around. Tracker R don't go for that. All right. I don't think I got time for another. Well, I do. But oh, what's the next one? HOTAS fundamentals. I think. Yeah, I'm not gonna skip them, y'all. Not gonna skip them. Not gonna skip them. That's what I do every time. Yes, shit is boring, but all right. Learn the basics of HOTAS control using navigation, armament selection, objective acquisition, and targeting. Oh yeah, I've always skipped this. I think it tells you you gotta learn, you gotta know something prior. A10C is an advanced incomplete identify engage targets all while flying aircraft with such hands-on throttle and stick has been made on navigation armament configuration cockpit display management and steering wheel can be controlled by throttle and flight taught basis of whole touch specifically yes for grammar lesson here specifically and pacifically two different things. Matter of fact, pacifically not a word. Just throwing it out there. You will learn how to visualize and navigate over the battlefield. Like, okay, how to search for find. Oh yeah, I got to do this. The training must be conducted in active fall, as that's entitled. This is training. You have peripheral control to simulate the 810 throttle stick. You need something with several buttons, several hundred buttons. They should have said. And this that's new focus on control stick data DMS and TMS. Both four positions were just up, down, left, right. Throttle to focus each to control two axes. I know y'all probably saying, why is he doing this shit? Because if you want to learn the A10 for any of these jets, you gotta do the training, you gotta watch some videos on YouTube, and then you got to practice. practice, 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 or play, play, play. Same difference. The image auto to focus the 2 control, 2 S control, coolie hat switch. I got that. China hat switch, 3 position switch, spring loaded, antenna, function, separate buttons. Okay. Also touch on the control stick, master mode button, and the throttle's comp switch, position, and boat switch. Damn. You should map at least the focus, HOTAS controls, your, and I should read this. I really should. But I'm not.
Welcome to the A10C Basic HOTAS training. You begin northwest of Senaka-Kole Air Base at 8,500 feet MSL.
I think this is a long training too, so I'm not going to finish
you are
it.
armed with a variety
about
of
10
precision
minutes.
munitions, including AGM-65 Maverick, GBU-12 LGBs, and GBU-38 GPS bombs. The cockpit is set as it would be upon entering the battle area. Master, gun, and laser are armed. The TGP is on and set to air to ground. Since we will be using a JTAC later in the mission, the ARC 210 radio is set to the JTAC frequency, and the JTRS data link is on. When ready to continue, press the spacebar.
I've never done this one. I ever got this far. I skipped over it.
To effectively use the HOTAS, you must understand the 2 key elements, SOI and SPI. SOI, sensor of interest. SPI, sensor point of interest. Again, SPI is something outside the aircraft. SOI is the display inside the aircraft. When ready to continue, press the spacebar.
Actually, I'm going to have to pause. Yeah, because I don't think these people going to the movie with me have ate. And yeah, I should have started this early. Anyway, appreciate you guys stopping in. I'm going to pause this and pick it up later.